Ladies and gentlemen.
Roll the camera. Okay.
Kia ora. Welcome to Serial News. I'm Jack.
And I'm Emily. In today's stories, a new crime wave is sweeping the country in form of the woolen graffiti. Scientists have invented an invisibility cloak. We help them find it, and the latest in weather around the country. But first, a story that will turn your world upside down.
If you think the world is getting more and more topsy-turvy, it turns out you're right. Builders in Germany have built an upside-down house, and before you think they may have read the plans upside down, they did it on purpose. The wacky abode was built as a tourist attraction, as well as being a comment on the world's state of the world. The house is 23 feet tall and rests on its roof, and it has steel beams in the attic. Inside the house, there are beds screwed into the roof and upside-down wardrobes, an upside-down kitchen, and even an upturned bathroom, though it's not known if anyone has tried taking a bath in it or go to the toilet. Normally a house like this would take 3 weeks to build. This one took over 4 months because the builders kept getting confused by the strange angles of the walls. Many tourists visiting the house complain of feeling sick and dizzy after just a few minutes inside the house. Louise, who is inside the house. How are you feeling, Louise?
Thanks, Jack. I'm here with the owner of the house, and I'm feeling very interested. So what made you decide to build an upside-down house?
I built this upside-down house for the popularity and the challenge of the engineering of an upside-down house.
What comment do you feel the house makes about the state of the world?
We want to show what new engineering is in the world and what it brings to the tourists.
What are some of the challenges of living in a house where everything's upside down?
Eating, sleeping, everything. But that is why I built an upside-down house.
How did you build this house?
It took a lot of skill building an upside-down house, and mostly it took teamwork.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Louise for Serial News. Back to you, Emily, in the studio.
Thanks, Louise. Even watching that makes me feel like I want to vomit. And now, for a story that is truly out of sight, look out, Harry Potter. The world of science is catching up to the world of magic. Scientists in Europe have created a 3D invisibility cloak which can hide objects by blending light waves. It has been found that the light can be controlled using special tiny crystals that make objects disappear. So far, scientists have made small objects such as coins disappear, but hope that it won't be long before they are hiding cars, planes, and even people. People have always dreamed of making themselves invisible. One top scientist says, "The possibilities are endless. We are very excited." However, since inventing the invisibility cloak, the scientists have been having trouble finding it. As soon as we put it down somewhere, it just disappears, the inventor of the cloak said. It appears they are having trouble finding other things too, like their lunch, which they think may be underneath the cloak. Hoping to see through the reasons behind the invisibility cloak, here is our on-the-spot reporter, Finn, with more on the story.
Hello, I'm Finn, and with me is Georgia, one of the scientists behind the invisibility cloak. Hi, Georgia. Thanks for coming today. What made you want to invent an invisibility cloak?
Well, I thought it would be a good idea to be able to catch robbers and crime.
Can you show me how the invisibility cloak works?
Sure. Well, actually, I have lost my assistant in the invisibility cloak. Has anybody seen him?
I'm right here. What do you hope the cloak will be used for?
Kids missing in school and going away and doing whatever.
What's your favourite part of the invisibility cloak?
The invisibility cloak, I like the invisibility cloak because it's unique to our country and we'll be selling it soon around the world.
Well, that's very interesting. Thanks, and back to Jack in the studio.
Thanks, Finn. And now how's this for an interesting yarn? A new wave of graffiti crime is covering the country thanks to an underground gang known as the Midnight Knitters. These wool-waving criminals are covering tree branches and lampposts with small jerseys and scarves under the cover of the darkness. Police say that the knitter activities of the gang are illegal because their woolly crimes are being done on public property without permission. The popularity of woolen graffiti is growing and more public objects are being wrapped up every night. But the problem is growing, police say, and warn that if the Midnight Knitters aren't caught soon, every tree, lamppost and traffic light in the country will be dressed warmly against the cold. The problem is spinning out of control. They're a close-knit group of a dyed-in-the-wool criminals. We are stitching together a case, but it's not seamless. There is no real pattern to the crimes, a policewoman said today. So far, the criminal knitters have escaped arrest and continue to pull out the wool over the eyes of both the public and the police. We now go over to a secret location with our reporter Corbin, who has an exclusive interview with one of the Midnight Knitters gang.
Thanks, Jack. I'm Corbin Giddy, and joining me in the top secret location is members of the Midnight Knitters gang. Hello, Jared and Andrew. Question: what led you into the dark underworld of midnight knitting?
When my grandma died, I had to carry on the legacy by knitting.
Do you see yourself as a criminal? Why or why not?
No, I do not, because I'm spreading the word of knitting.
Apart from trees, lampposts and traffic lights, what else would you like to knit with your woolens?
We also cover security cameras before we put it in anywhere else.
Does your pet sheep Doris realize you are using her wool for illegal purposes, and how does she feel?
No, Doris does not know that we are using her wool for illegal purposes, but I'm sure she's feeling something is wrong.
Thanks for your time, Andrew and Jared of the Midnight Knitters gang. Now we pass over to Hugo with the weather report.
Thank you, Corbin. And now good evening, New Zealand. Let's have a look at tomorrow's weather.
Starting in far north, in Kaitaia, looking out at some pretty flash flooding and raindrops as big as your head. If you're going outside, wear a hat. Moving down to Auckland, there will be a mix of fair conditions and unfair conditions, but they are the conditions, so you'll just have to accept them. There will be no weather at the Bay of Plenty. It's taking a short holiday, but is expected to come back for the weekend.
In Napier and Hastings, the weather will sometimes be changeable and sometimes not. We have really no idea what will happen there. In Taranaki, a mild depression brings with a very full day with no highlights at all. It will be overcast and gloomy all morning, but things should clear up by the evening, so don't worry, everything will be fine.
Wellington will have another capital day. There will be no wind at all, and the day's conditions will be so pleasant they'll be extreme. In the top of the South Island, Kaikoura can expect to have a good day, meeting friends for lunch, going for a swim, and reading newspapers. But try to stay indoors, as the weather will be just as terrible.
A real mix for Christchurch, which will have some unreasonable rainfall, some sensible winds and moderate thunderstorms, and some very angry snow. And in the lower south, Dunedin will be frosty, cold and unfriendly until late morning, when the sun will pop over for a visit. Everybody likes the sun.
That's all from me. Remember, if it's raining outside, that's the weather for you. Good night, New Zealand. Now it's back with the news desk with Jack and Emily.
Thanks, Lauren and Hugo. Well, that's all we have time for. We hope you've enjoyed this evening's broadcast.
Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you again next time. Until then,
I'm Jack.
And I'm Emily for Serial News. Goodbye.
Inohora.
Ladies and gentlemen. Roll the camera. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are featuring an interview with a very peculiar-looking gentleman.
Scene 1, take 1. Scene 1, take 2. Take 2.